Welcome to Stetson Law Live, an online, interactive, informational event for prospective students of Stetson University College of Law. Your hosts today, Darren Kettles and Carmen Johnson. Our topic today, Part-Time Law School Live Q&A.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Part-Time Law School Live Q&A. It is such a pleasure to have you here. We'll be getting started with everything soon, but as you get settled with everything, make sure you're paying attention to the chat screen so that you can get your questions ready. This is what we're here for. So we're going to be talking about part-time live law school. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to begin to engage with this. For those who have already engaged with us a little bit, whether it's appointments, going to a previous event, let us know in the chat room how you've engaged with us before. It's good to see you again. For those that this might be your first time interacting with us, this is a way for you to get engaged with Stetson Law, learn about our program, and particularly about our part-time program and how it can work for you in light of your busy lifestyle. This is just the first step to get you engaged and determine how this could work with you, whether you work, whether you have daytime commitments for family commitments. We look forward to answering all of your questions. So what we're going to do right now is introduce ourselves. I'm actually going to start with Darren.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's really nice that you took a little bit of time today to come and spend a little bit of time to talk with us and hopefully get your questions answered and maybe consider something that's maybe been on your mind for a while, that you can actually go to law school, and we have a part-time program that is really designed for working professional people. So I am the director of admissions at Stetson Law School. I just started my 12th year here, and it's just a wonderful community. We have campuses both in Tampa and here in Gulfport, so we're right live on our Gulfport campus this afternoon. So thank you for taking a few minutes to spend time, ask some questions, and we'll let you know what's possible. It's a big jump for you and maybe in your professional lives, and we really hope that you will stay with us and let us help engage you and get your questions answered.
And to now finally introduce myself. My name is Carmen Johnson. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and Diversity Initiatives. I'm also an alumna of the College of Law. I graduated in 2012. And after some years of practice, I came to join the Stetson Law community here in the admissions office, and I've been working with Darren for quite some time. So I've been in this capacity for about 5 years. And I also want to introduce the person that you're chatting with in the chat room, Zoe Fisher. She is the one representing Stetson Law in the chat room, and so she will be guiding you through the conversation as you're typing in your questions. So please feel free to say hello to Zoe as well. She's a recent a graduate of the College of Law. She graduated in May, and she's helping us over the summer while she waits for her bar results. So good luck, Zoe. All right, so we see some of you already logging in and chatting. Yes, keep posting where you're logging in from. Matt, Ariane, Debbie, wonderful to hear from you all. Victor, hello, Victor. So let's go ahead and get started. I think the best way to start is for us to start talking about Stetson Law itself. Again, some of you have already interacted with us a little bit, but for those who have not, Darren, can you talk about Stetson Law, our history a little bit, and who we are?
Yeah, sure. So a special shout out to Rachel in Clearwater. I know we've communicated in the past, Rachel, so yeah. I'm glad to have you on this webinar with us today live, so feel free to continue to reach out as well. So just a little bit of an idea of who we are. Stetson Law School is actually the oldest law school in the state of Florida. It started in 1900 on our main campus in DeLand, Florida, which is just north of Orlando. So we started over there in 1900 and pretty much operated on that main campus over there for about 50 years before we moved over here to this beautiful campus, which is just stunning for a law school. So it was actually an old resort property that was built in the Roaring 20s, so 1926 to 1932. So quite unusual, 22-acre campus, 7 courtrooms between our campuses, just a wonderful community. Most law schools oftentimes are just a building on the undergraduate campus. So for people that are looking for a community where there's a library that offers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week swipe card access, for people that do their best work at 3 a.m., you have a library that's available for you there as well, too. So, but Stetson is a top-tier law school. It's the #1 advocacy school in the nation. It has been since 1995, pretty much. It's number 2 in legal writing. And not to mention just a number of concentrations that we offer. We do have both a full-time and a part-time program. About 75 law schools in the country have a part-time program, and we are thankfully one of them. Wonderfully situated in the state of Florida. We're probably, one of the best situated, given that this metropolitan area, us and actually a satellite campus of a Michigan-based law school on the other side of Tampa. But we've been here since 1954 and have just got a real solid foothold in this community, and our graduates not only stay here, but they practice throughout the state of Florida and up and down the eastern seaboard and all across the country, as well as internationally as well. So anyway, just a little bit of overview too, but we'll get into a few more details about the part-time program, what that would look like. So Carmen, did we want to move into maybe a little bit more of the part-time program?
Yes.
Or did we cover enough? If you have any more questions about the history and want to know more, by all means, you can send us an email, and instead of your address, we'll send you some of our prospectus, our materials. They're just incredibly well done. So if you just want a little bit more, these are also, it's also on our website as well if you want to see that.
And a lot of people enjoy the history of Stetson. Of course, we're going to mainly focus on the part-time program. That's why we're all here. But if you want to learn more about Stetson, our website is going to be a wonderful resource. And of course, you can engage with us. We'll be happy to share more information. But the part-time program, it is part of our JD program offerings. So the JD stands for the Juris Doctorate. That is the degree that you will need to have in order to practice law in the state of Florida. And that can also be used if you wish to practice law in another state in the United States. And so that's how you become an attorney. Once you graduate, you then take the bar exam, and upon passing, that is when you will go and practice as an attorney. Darren, can you talk about, it looks like we have a question, and that's usually the first question that we want to go over, and I saw it somewhere. Someone had the question about how long is the program. Rachel. Thank you, Rachel, for that question.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. So the part-time program is a structure that we've developed. We've actually had to refine it over time because we're just trying to make sure we can accommodate those students, because it was designed for really working professional people that have great demands on their time. So the structure that we have currently in place is an evening program. It's a 4-year program on the books, although we have seen people complete it in shorter periods of time, especially if they've gone over the summer months. So if you start in the fall, we bring in a class once a year, so every fall. So our application cycle for fall 2019's entering class, because we just brought in our wonderful incoming class for 2018. So October the 1st of this year, so just a little less than a month, we will open our application cycle for fall 2019. And the structure is currently this semester for the part-time program is 2 nights a week. So it's a Tuesday and Thursday this semester, although in the past, we've had it 3 nights a week. So it was a Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday. So this semester, it's kind of a beta test by our registrar's office to determine what might be best for people. So we're trying to accommodate schedules, but you would actually take both classes, and we'll show you a good sort of study schedule and what that would look like a little later on. I think Carmen has a slide, and Zoe actually prepared a slide that could be helpful for you. But Tuesday and Thursday, it would be both classes on the same night. You start classes around 6:15, and you probably finish around 10 o'clock. I was just speaking to a faculty member who's teaching in the part-time program this year, and he said, yeah, it's a long night with both classes on the same night, but you do, excuse me, only have 2 nights a week versus 3, which is traditionally it's been. So.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of our part-time students find it very helpful in regards to their daily schedules. You have to go to work every day. Of course, you have maybe family commitments, other personal commitments that you might have. So it's a very helpful program in that sense, where you're able to have your daytime commitments and go to class more so in the evening, okay? And I think this will be a good time to take a question.
Why don't we just take a question right now? I'm just looking at a few of them come across too. So it looks like somebody's asking, and it's hard to see right there too. It looks like Will. Will's question. It looks like, how easy is it to switch from part-time to full-time? And it is something that is an option for you. Start in the part-time program, which starts in the fall, law school. So it would be fall, spring semester, summer session, and then fall. And by the end of the second fall, that is your completion of your 1L year. And that is when you will have an opportunity, as long as you're in good academic standing, you can pretty much go to the registrar's office and you fill out a form and you get bumped up to the full-time program. So, you know, the academic good standing is a 2.3 GPA in the program in order to be eligible for that. So just something to consider there for yourself. Some people, it allows you to probably, instead of being a 4-year program, it'll probably be about a 3.5-year program if you do decide to switch. And a lot of people do that. So it is an option for you. So hopefully that answers your question, Will. Any other question here?
And then we saw a question from Gracie Lynn, an attorney from Brazil. Wonderful. Welcome. And do you recommend the JD program, a normal program? Gracie Lynn, that's going to depend on if you do want to practice law in the United States. And so in terms of being a licensed attorney, we do have other programs that are for attorneys, foreign attorneys, that they can pursue if they want to not necessarily get a license to practice law. But if you do want to practice law, you need to get the JD. So we have information on our website about our accelerated JD for foreign attorneys. And that is something that you can inquire with us about if you have questions, for sure. And we can try to answer some questions today if you have more. And see, another question from Jean. What is the minimum GPA in LSAT this term or prior? And it looks like, yes, thanks, Zoe. Zoe gave you a link for you to see some of that information, and you may be referring to what our more recent entering class and their GPA and LSAT. We are going to cover that very, very soon. Okay, but very briefly, we would not say that's going to be a minimum. What we are looking for is, yes, we try to say that this particular GPA or LSAT score is what you can do in order for you to be most competitive for admission and/or scholarships. But we can go over that information further as well. Okay?
Sure.
So great question, Jean, and we'll get to that even further. Now, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Good to hear from you again.
Hi, Kristen.
Yes, and I think you've interacted with Darren, Kristen. Thanks for tuning in. Does this part-time program have any internship requirements? Darren, that's a good question.
Well, I mean, in terms of internships, I mean, requirements, I mean, for us, we think it's ideal when somebody has an opportunity to have an internship requirement. I mean, it's really just on-the-job training that you can get. So the problem that we have sometimes with the part-time program is just based on your availability. So we have our Office of Clinics and Externships. They work really hard to create opportunities for our part-time students. So we can connect you with our internships and clinical office to see what's available, but it isn't necessarily a requirement. It's highly advisable, and hopefully you will have an opportunity to do more than one. And it is one of those things. Stetson's really known for sort of having people be able to apply what they learn in the classroom and hopefully make some good networking contacts as well. So highly advisable. It's going to depend on your schedule, and there's more opportunities depending on your schedule throughout the day too. For some of you, you might have flexible schedules, and that would give you an opportunity to be able to take advantage of some. So depending on the demands of your professional lives, your personal lives, and your time commitments, hopefully that will open up a few opportunities for you there. So hopefully that answered your question. I forget who was actually asked that. Was that Victor? I can't remember, but anyway,
great
whoever
question.
it was,
I think it was Kristen, probably. Thanks, Kristen. So I saw a question from Victor as well. Yeah, what is the earliest time class usually starts? Victor, really, in terms of class start time, for that first year and a half, with it being an evening program, the earliest class time is going to usually be around 6:15.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Why not 6 o'clock? 6:15, just to give people a few extra minutes in order to get there, just trying to rush from work.
Yeah.
And with, especially as Darren previously mentioned, trying to get between wherever you're working to our Gulfport campus and or our Tampa campus, depending on where classes are assigned that day. Now, I do see some additional questions. I did want Stan is our production guru, and see if we can, and he's laughing, to see if we can pull up the curriculum page where we can start to get a view of what that part-time curriculum usually looks like. No, it's not the PowerPoint, it's that page, the web page with the part-time curriculum. If we're able to pull it up, great. If not, no worries. Actually, Stan, let's stay there. That works here. That works.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, this is a good one for us. And in general, Darren, can you briefly describe the part-time curriculum, the first year and a half, and then what the courses look like thereafter, and then we can talk about the sample schedule. We want you to continue to look at that sample schedule.
Yeah, so just quickly with the sample schedule that's actually on the screen right now, that's for somebody that's going to be 2 nights a week, which is the part-time curriculum we have this semester. It's not, I can't guarantee, or we can't guarantee, it's always going to be 2 nights a week. But hopefully, I would think that it gives somebody else a free night, but we'll just see how that goes. But in terms of your 1L curriculum, you will find that it's going to be your foundation classes. I mean, your 1L curriculum is, if you see on the screen, torts and contracts, but it's going to cover property. It's going to cover your legal writing, your legal research and writing components, criminal law. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Carmen remembers this from her days in law school as well. But the curriculum are your foundation classes, and that's what you're doing in your 1L year. And that's why, given 2 classes per semester, you can see they're probably 4 credit classes each, and you, after you complete your 1L year, you will have 28 credits, and that's when you sort of launch into the 2L and your 3L and potentially 4L year of your class. So that's the way it's done. Your classes are all chosen for you. You're going along in a cohort. So the classmates that you begin with in your 1L year as you matriculate, that'll be the class that you actually stay. Oh, look at this side shot. I know, Stan's our guru over there.
Stetson, we got it.
Yeah, so anyway, so it just gives you an idea. So you will become really good friends with your cohort. They will become your best pals, and you'll become new lifelong friends. Everyone needs those. So you have a great opportunity to connect and collaborate with one another, work study groups, etc. So, and I think we had a different version of the sample part-time program, did we not? I don't know if
Yes, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do the click, and it clicked wonderfully.
Oh, it did,
Thank you. So that's the different view of potentially what the schedule will look like if it is a 3-night per week setup for you.
And we don't really know what it will be like next year when you all apply and you admitted with scholarship, and we all would love to see you in person here on campus. But we'll try and update you if you want to contact our office to see if there's been determinations made about that. So if you notice in the purple on the screen, Zoe did a great job. I'm sure Carmen contributed too, just to sort of see where you can carve out time. And that's probably the greatest importance when you're in a part-time program, is making sure that you have control over your calendar, because if you don't set aside time, as you all know, people will keep taking your time. So this is a big undertaking. You just want to make sure you give you the greatest opportunity to succeed in that regard. So.
And even then, of course, you see a lot of gray space there. That's where work, your personal life, your family endeavors will take into place. So this is just a sample. This is to give you a general idea. Now, this conversation ties into Kelly's question. Are any of the courses offered online? Great question, Kelly. I can say very quickly that for the first year and a half, the majority of the part-time program, all courses are going to be offered here on campus, either on our Gulfport campus or in Tampa. So they are going to be live courses that you have to physically attend. After you get beyond your required curriculum in your first year and a half, there's going to be a small number of courses offered online. However, it's not usually going to be to where you can fill an entire semester worth. It might be 1 course out of maybe 3 that you are, the other 2 you're having to take in person.
Yeah, so in terms of just distance learning programs, our accrediting body, the American Bar Association, has limits on the amount of distance learning credits somebody can actually earn to be conferred their JD. So 88 credits to be conferred your JD. Currently, and it looks like it might pass. Currently, there's 15 credits allowed, and I do believe the ABA was looking, and it looks like they're going to confirm up to 30 credits that actually people, and that hasn't all been implemented, I don't believe, but at this current time, I would only bank on about 15 credits right now, maximum. And they're more going to be your elective classes, as Carmen said. The foundation classes are going to require some degree of on-campus residency component where you have to satisfy those components on campus. So. Yeah.
And very quickly, we're going to talk more about, of course, the admissions process, which we know you have a lot of questions about, but I did want to cover Victor's question very quickly. you took the LSAT about 8 years ago. Is that score still good, or would you need to take the exam again? An LSAT score is valid for 5 years. So, Victor, from the sounds of it, it looks like you will need to retake the LSAT.
Get out your books, Victor.
Get ready.
Yeah, I know it's not the most fun you'll ever have.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Use it as a, it is one of those things, and I tell people, use the LSAT and spend time, but use it as a way to not only get you admitted to law school, but also to give you an opportunity for scholarship.
Absolutely.
Because when we're admitting students, not only that have exhibited elements of ability to handle the rigors of law school, but it's also we want to reward you for your hard work in putting together a quality application. Grades, if you've completed your undergraduate degree, and we look at the first one. So if you have 2 or even you have a graduate degree, we don't combine all the GPA together. We're going to look at the first bachelor's degree you've earned in any major. You can have any major and go to law school, which is kind of the beauty of law school. But look, and for a lot of people, once the grades are done, there's really nothing you can do about it. So focus on the stuff you can control, which would be the LSAT. And the LSAT could have a great impact, not only on admissions, but also for scholarship rewards as well. This year's incoming class, I think we offered close to $3.5 million in scholarship. So anything from $5,000 up to full tuition and everything in between based on just the credentials of your application. So just know that the better the better the score, the higher the score. If you think you've taken it one time and you think you can improve it a few more points, I mean, go for it. Some people I've seen this past cycle, Carmen and I both work with people where they were admitted with scholarship, and the LSAT is offered 6 times a year now, as you probably well know, starting this past June. So there's a lot of people that just retook it with the idea that, okay, well, I was able to secure a seat and I have this scholarship, but let me see if I can get a bit more money to be able to help fund this. So,
Sure.
More questions?
And, yes, plenty more questions. And we're going to try to get to all of them. I believe I saw earlier where Kristen asked a question about can part-time students, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Can part-time students participate in extracurricular activities such as law review?
Yeah, sure. So in answer to your question, Kristen, yes. And we have had, in the past, since I've been here, we've actually had students that were part-time students that were editors-in-chiefs of law review. And, it sort of depends on your time commitment, because there are, the time demands on your schedule. So the more available you are, even when you get into elective classes, if you stay in the part-time curriculum, the more flexibility you have with your schedule, the more elective offerings are available to you. Because if you get a chance to go to our website and you can see the classes that we offer, there's just a multitude of them. So, if you want to take out a little bit more, some specific things that you're really interested in, by all means, the flexibility happens there, or will be a great option for you there. But in terms of you and flexibility, I forgot the question. Yeah, what was that?
The extracurriculars.
That's what it was, the extracurriculars. So there you go.
Because we got it, because there's so many different activities. That's why you forgot.
Yeah, there was just so much going on there.
There are so many activities that one can participate in. But one thing that we do want to emphasize, and that allows us, we're getting to your questions, but allows us to cover some of the other things we wanted to point out as well, is that when it comes to concentrations, things like that, yes, we do encourage our part-time students to focus on the recommended curriculum after they finish their first year and a half. That is because the program is built, and that's where it's guaranteed where you're going to be able to take those courses in the evening. Now, if you do have some flexibility in your daytime schedules, we know some of you are employed at locations where you do have that flexibility. Yes, if you want to do law review, trial teams like the advocacy boards.
Yeah, sure.
That's something that Stetson is very well known for. You can definitely try to participate in those as well. They actually carve out practices in order to help accommodate part-time schedules. That's the whole nature of this program, where we try to make it work for you as best as possible in light of what we understand are your priorities during the day. We understand that you have priorities for work, family, whatever it may be, okay?
For those of you that maybe have typed a question, if we missed it, by all means, just kind of copy and paste it again.
Post it again.
Yeah, just post it, because we're trying to do our best to make sure we answer those. So I know there was another question before we kind of move into maybe the admissions process and stuff too. I think it had to do, you want to scroll down a little bit?
I think a study abroad from CIEDA.
Was that, it was something else I was going to ask about. I saw. Anyway, was that what it was? About that too? Oh, does Stetson average the multiple LSAT scores? Well, we get into that too. But so it used to be that you were actually limited to the amount of LSAT scores you could take. You were limited to 3 over a 2-year period. Just earlier this year, I believe it was, that LSAC, the Law School Admissions Council, which we'll get into shortly, they actually allowed and changed that rule, allowing people to do unlimited amount of LSAT. I mean, God knows who would want to do that, but still, hopefully, you still have a plan. If it's not uncommon that somebody takes the LSAT more than one time to get into a competitive law school or selective law school. So yeah, just think about that as you go along. So we don't average them, we actually report the high. We'll see them all. We'll see everyone you took, and some people sign up and something happens. We'll even see if you didn't show for that particular score test site. But overall, that's what we're going to do, and we'll see them, and we'll see a lot of things through your CAS report that comes out of LSAC, which we'll talk about in a second. So, yeah.
And so we're going to, I think that's a great question to help us shift into the admissions process.
Yeah, sure.
And so to get us started, Stan, if you can put back up the slideshow, we want to see if we can show the class profile a little bit to give you an idea of what, there we are, of
good.
what our more recent entering class looks like. Yeah. And that's going to tie in very closely as we talk about the application process, especially when we talk about the median GPA and the median LSAT score, okay? Yes. And so when it comes to the application process, Darren, can you just talk about the overall timeline?
Sure. Absolutely. So yeah, just seeing that's on the screen there. So this was, Carmen and I, we brought in this incoming classes here. It was just a wonderful applicant pool. About 200, a little less than 200 applications. Can't remember exactly what it was for part-time. Collectively, between full-time and part-time, we had just under 2,000 applications this year, so a really solid applicant pool. But this is sort of the breakdown of the incoming class. You just kind of got an idea. It's just solidly the GPA, close to 3.5 GPA, median LSAT score. For those of you that don't know, 120 through 180, so a median of 154 is a very solid score. We usually have a pretty kind of 50-50 ratio. It looks like a few more males in the incoming class. And you can see people come in with a multitude of different backgrounds, including graduate degrees, et cetera. And then just a good solid age range, increasing to and kind of our diversity within the classroom, and just a gamut of experiences that come in. But in terms of the timeline, so this is a good timeline. So that's why we typically start our, starting our webinars, because we just brought in the class and we want to make sure that people give themselves ample time to produce a really good application, because you just want to make sure everything is strong in your application, because, that not only helps with admissions, but it also scholarship, which we address. So, the LSAT, which I mentioned earlier, they're 6 times a year. So for a lot of you, you could have your bachelor's degrees already. You could also have a graduate degree. But so that part of the equation is kind of out. Of course, we need transcripts, et cetera, for that. But for a lot of you, pulling together a law school application is really going to be the best. The biggest focus is probably going to be the LSAT, making sure you give yourself ample time, usually about at least 2 to 3 months for someone to adequately prepare for an LSAT. You don't want to, just don't underestimate that test, because what you're going to find is it can be stressful on test day. So the preparations that you put in place are really the things that kind of drive you through and get you through test day in a way, because there's going to be stuff that you can't control. Somebody's going to have a complete meltdown next to you, and you're going to have to focus, and you're going to be like, they're not in the room, la la la. You're going to be doing your thing. But yeah, so whatever you can do to make sure that you can stay in your lane, that you prepared well, those are the things that are going to be really helpful to you in terms of your timeline. So that would be the biggest thing. The other stuff can come together after that, in terms of letters of recommendation, personal statement, et cetera, which we'll get to. So
Sure. And when it comes to the LSAT, and we'll go into that topic more, when it comes to the LSAT, there's so many resources that are available to help you prepare for that. So as Darren mentioned, wanting to take 2 to 3 months to give yourself adequate time to prepare, just like you were preparing for a case in the future, making sure you're putting your best foot forward when it comes to that. And Stetson can be a resource for you as well in terms of guiding. We're constantly doing phone appointments, in-person appointments, where we're telling people about the LSAT and giving you some great resources for you to consider as you're going through that process.
Yeah, sure. Well, and the faculty will always tell you too, look, And I hope that it will apply even to the LSAT preparation. It's like, you know, sometimes the best law students, they don't have to be like the smartest person in the room, but they often are. The best attorneys sometimes are the ones that are most prepared. The best LSAT people, you know, those are the ones that are most prepared. You don't have to be the smartest person in the entire testing center, but be prepared. And that would be our advice to you, is make sure that you use the resources that are out there, whether it's your own, you know, you're buying different test prep materials that you can get online or otherwise. You can buy previous tests from LSAC. You can just buy them for just a few dollars if you'd like to get an actual test that you can do and have somebody time it for you under time conditions. You might want to take advantage of Khan Academy, which is a new online test prep program that was launched in June in a partnership with the Law School Admissions Council to provide online free LSAT prep. There's a multitude of preparation programs in the Tampa Bay Metro. They're actually all on our website. If you can't find them, just email us and we can give you an idea of what those options would be there too. But get your timing down, get your confidence up. They're going to test you on things that you hopefully, you probably never thought you'd be tested on. But, you know, Carmen maybe can talk about that if you want to talk about and meet with us, or even meet with Zoe in our office too, because they have all recently done that. At least in recent years, to give you some idea of what they did too. So, but that would be, yeah, don't underestimate that test. It is something that will throw you if you're not prepared, but it can really help advance your application, not only with admission, but scholarship.
Yeah, and of course, just take advantage of all the resources that are available there. And we'll talk a little bit more about Khan Academy once we talk a little bit more about LSAC. In terms of us going through the application process, I saw that there was one question, Darren, you might have answered this question for Kelly.
Yeah.
Does Stetson average multiple LSAT score or take the best score?
I thought we did address that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, but yes, we take the best score.
And we don't average, although we'll see them all, if that's just to be clear.
We will see them all, but we will take the best score. And that's why you want to give yourself time to, if you need to take it more than once, that is okay. We encourage you to do that. And so, yes, we see a question from Kelly. Are the same scholarships available to full and part-time students?
Yeah, so in terms of scholarship, thankfully, we have a pretty robust scholarship pool. So it used to be when I started here some time ago, over a decade ago, students incoming, I mean, we had very particular denominations of scholarship. It was either based on merit, so credentials, GPA, LSAT, and character and fitness. So Stetson has a very strong character and fitness component. So, you know, we'll get to that in the application, but it was either 10,000, half tuition, or full tuition, and there was nothing in between. We've actually restructured it. And so now we have anything from just a few $1,000s all the way up to full tuition, and pretty much every denomination in between. So the percentiles are very similar in terms of the scholarship offerings for both full-time and part-time, and we're going to look at you in that regard. So please know that having a strong application will have its benefits for you applying to the part-time program.
And yes, and so for our full-time and part-time students, we are always, no matter what program you've expressed interest in, we're happy to advise you based on your circumstances. We are looking at your GPA from your undergraduate institution, as well as your LSAT score, amongst all the other things that you've accomplished, whether it's in your work history, as well as accomplishments that you had while in school, advanced degrees, including master's and doctoral degrees. We look at all of those things.
Sure. Maybe another question?
Yes,
maybe, Carmen,
absolutely.
What do you think? So, like, okay, so it looks like, is it Crispin? Yeah, so if a person did not get a spot in this year's class and wants to reapply for next year, is it recommended to write a new personal statement? How about getting new letters of recommendation? So great question. Thank you, Kristen. So it's not uncommon that somebody could apply to Stetson and not get in. I mean, as you can imagine, we have 230 something seats in full time, and about, I mean, this year we had around 40. We ended up bringing a few more students, as you can see, because the quality was there. And we did have space to bring in a few more students. But we try and keep our class size to a manageable thing where you actually feel like you have access, and that you have access to the faculty and your classmates. So I would say to you this, just like anything, and you know, if you're writing like an essay or a topic on things, sometimes revisiting your personal statement and your letters of recommendation, which sometimes you get a chance to see and sometimes you don't, it's really not, as part of the CAS process through LSAC, you actually don't get to see a letter of recommendation if somebody chooses to write it for you unless they actually hand you one, so or send you one. But I would say to you, it's like writing is rewriting. And so while you thought about your personal statement this year, I think it would be important to revisit to make sure that those things that you actually included first about our question on the personal statement about why you want to be an attorney, why do you want to go to law school, well, hopefully you still feel the same way that you did originally write it. So, but sometimes you can tweak things, and I do think that everyone should do that if they haven't applied previously and did not gain a seat, or they were admitted and decided to defer a year. There's a number of reasons why people would do that. So by all means, just take another look. It is a professional application. You always want to make sure it's strong.
Yeah. And for Adrian and Zoe, go ahead and post that. That's fine. That's a great post there. But for Adrian's question, in terms of cost, is there a significant difference gap in pricing between full-time and part-time programs? Of course, because you're dealing with a 1-year difference, it can be a relative difference, of course. But in the grand scheme, very similar costs in terms of per class, per semester, okay? So if you, Zoe just posted for us the tuition, and this is the tuition from 2017 through 2018 academic year or before that. Zoe has it all updated. Looks like it's from the, I see it, 2018, 2019.
Yes,
Thank you, Zoe.
Yeah.
She's on top of it. And so those are going to be the rates there. And then for the most part, when it comes to the discussion about scholarships, Darren, can you talk about the scholarships and what percentage of our scholarships were received last year?
Yeah, so, I mean, we were quite excited. I mean, Carmen and I, we started calculating the numbers too. So in this year's incoming class, just a little over 80% of our students actually came in with scholarship, which is, I think, in my time here, it's been, the highest amount of students that actually entered with scholarship because, you know, we want to, who doesn't want scholarship? Who doesn't have needs? So we recognize that. So I would say to you all, it's like, don't leave money on the table. Put together a strong application. Realize that even though we posted the median LSAT and the median GPA, just because you don't have that doesn't mean you're not going to be competitive. I mean, even though the median, that means 50% of the class came in with a 154 or higher, but 50% came in below that. So look at the 25th to the 75th percentile. I think that's sort of a better gauge, but we've had students that maybe they have a 2.8 or 2.9 GPA from undergrad, but that was 10 years ago. And they've actually accomplished a lot professionally. So don't think that just because you don't have those exact numbers, those are just median numbers and we report them. But there's a lot of people that come in below that and above that. You have a 2.9 GPA from undergrad, but you have a 157 LSAT. I mean, this is a very competitive application. So, and everyone's, you know, everything's relative to the applicant pool. So we can't always talk about, the selectivity, because we don't know what it's going to be like from year to year. So just keep that in mind. But don't get discouraged. You just never quite know exactly what the applicant pool is going to look like. So, you know, sometimes there's hard science. I mean, Carmen was actually a biology major when she went to college. And sometimes hard sciences are different than maybe some social sciences. So just keep that in mind. We take into consideration what you studied in undergrad and what you're considering now. And there's just differences in terms of curriculums.
For sure. And great questions, everyone. And thanks for posting your questions. Keep them coming in. We still have about 10 minutes left, I believe, and so keep them coming. Let's see. It looks like how many students total are accepted per class? Maybe we can talk about our acceptance rate, Darren.
Yeah, sure. So this year, I mean, just the quality of the applicant pool was just outstanding. I mean, Carmen and I, you know, looking through applications and working with students this year, I mean, they were just so committed. It was just a really good, strong applicant pool that we were, and the incoming class reflected that too. You saw the numbers. So, but in terms of the selectivity, we probably admitted about 45% of our pool this year collectively. You know, we've been anywhere, you know, it would be nice to be a little bit lower, but that is really, really good. That's a selective class. And so, you know, typically with the part-time students, unlike the full-time students are probably on average applying to 6 to 8 law schools. But for part-time students, because sometimes there's some commitments geographically here in this area, you know, you may apply to maybe 1, maybe 2 schools. Sometimes you might have an out-of-state opportunity. But for the most part, if we admit somebody to the part-time program, there's a very good chance that they're going to come. We don't need to admit as many in part-time as we do to full-time, because full-time people are oftentimes applying to a multitude of different schools. So just keep that in mind as you go. alone too. But our selectivity is strong, which is, very much why we have such a great, talented pool in incoming class every year. So,
and thank you for your question, Melinda. And that's going to be a great opportunity. And I'm going to talk to Stan really quick. Stan, if it's possible for you to briefly show the checklist or the application instructions webpage. We're going to show it very briefly. And that's what he has up on the screen now is our general part-time information page. That's going to be a wonderful resource for those who haven't been able to visit the website. You can learn more about the program. We played a video at the beginning of this session where you can watch that video again if necessary. And Stan, if you can find the application instruction, that's it right there. Okay. Perfect. This is just the top of the page, everyone. Melinda, we're about to answer your question. But this page, we will provide a link in the follow-up email after this session is over. But if you're on the website, you see the 3 links at the top. You can go to apply, and the link to the application instructions will be up for you. Okay. And it will go into a lot more information about the letters of recommendation, some of the best practices, personal statement, things of that nature. But to answer your question, Melinda, you got your undergraduate degree not too long ago, but it's been more than a couple of years.
Yeah.
So who should write your letter of recommendation?
So, Melinda, I don't know what your situation is, whether you are currently working or you have been involved in your community. You have some volunteers, some leadership. It could be, another attorney that actually has known you for some years, but don't think you have to do that. I mean, choose somebody that actually knows you and kind of can attest to your professionalism, your ability to handle the rigors of a professional program, which is going to be academically very challenging. Somebody that maybe has seen you in a professional environment. So it could be your current situation. Some people come in and they've worked in law firms before. They've been legal assistants. They've been maybe paralegals, but there's just a multitude. Some people have worked in just professional environments too. So a supervisor would be great. It could be, I don't think you should have a family member write one. So, we sometimes get this. I've seen people write their own. So, go figure. So whoever you choose, just choose wisely because, who you choose is also a reflection of you as well. So, I do think it's important that whoever you choose, just don't give them carte blanche to write whatever they want. Have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. Ask them to address certain things, how they've grown and mature as a professional person, and how if they knew you in a particular capacity, maybe give anecdotes or an experiential thing that we can maybe learn from. Mm-hmm. You don't typically get into law school with just having a great letter of recommendation, but sometimes I've seen it where people have it's been for people that have been borderline, and we get a really great, strong letter of recommendation. Sometimes for us on the committee, when Carmen and I are reading applications, as well as the faculty admissions committee, sometimes those can be real clinchers for people too. Sure. So I want to get on to a few more things before we get cut off.
Sure, yes. And even then, with the rest of the application, as Stan had shown earlier, our application instructions page, yes, you'll want to look those over. And one of the best things that we can do for you is, based on your personal circumstances, we can have a conversation with you about what might be your best letter of recommendation, what might be your best approach with the personal statement. That's what we're here for, to help advise you one-on-one as you're going through this process. I know we have a few minutes left, so we're going to try to go through some information. I think your question is, what is the faculty to students ratio at Stetson? That ratio is 14-1, okay? But please note that for the first year, particularly the first year and a half for the part-time program, the entering class is usually, this year was 45 students. So that is usually going to be your cohort for that first year and a half. As you go to each of your classes, you'll all stay together. You really do become a family. And then, Kristen, you brought up a great question in terms of the timeline. When do you start accepting applications for the fall 2019 part-time program? For that entering class, that application is going to open October 1st.
Right.
The deadline to apply is May 15th of 2019, but we've talked a lot about scholarships. So while you technically have until May 15th of 2019 to submit your application, but we encourage you to submit your application earlier so that you can have better opportunities for seats if they're available, and then also better opportunities for scholarship. Our scholarship priority deadline is March 15th of 2019, okay? So as you're planning your LSAT approaches, as you are planning everything else, please keep that timeline in mind and make sure that you're meeting with us as we go. We are going to be winding down soon. Thanks, Zoe, for the message. If we do not get to your question, please make sure that you can feel free to post them. We are going to make note of them. But if you want a response, I recommend that you email us at lawadmin@law.stetson.edu. Zoe is putting that up now, okay?
And also keep in mind that we are going to have our fall open house coming up. It's the first Saturday in November, so it's November the 3rd, and that will actually go live on our website just probably in the next week or so. The actual registration RSVP for that, but it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a Saturday, so bring your family, bring your significant others, your kids, et cetera too, so they can kind of be a part of this as well, because it's going to affect your entire community, really, your families or everyone in your circles. So, but that will post. I mean, the dean's here and faculty and students and alums. We do mock classes, we do panels, they serve lunch. It's a really great opportunity for people to see what it's like to be a student at Stetson and what our culture is like and how welcoming and kind of caring and supportive of this community is. So hopefully you'll have that. So
and yes, Stan, can you show that last slide, or I can click over to it? And it's going to have some important dates. Oh, he'll show it at the end.
Yeah.
He's going to have some important date where you will be able to keep track of the deadlines that are coming up as well. And it's up there now. Thank you, Stan.
Even the law admit is on there in the bottom right corner if you're looking at it too. So if you need anything, that's our general admissions line. So if you need anything, but by all means, just call us if you want to get on our schedule. Carmen, myself, Zoe, we're always happy to meet with people. Even phone conversations are just fine. Don't think you have to drive all the way over here. So just know that we're happy to do phone conversations as well, just to help guide you specifically with your specific questions.
And because we have 2 campuses, you are able to meet with us here on our Gulfport campus, where we're filming live now. But I also have office hours on our Tampa campus near downtown Tampa. So if you would like to meet in person, but you're based out of Tampa and that's more convenient for you, I will be more than happy to meet with you one-on-one, as well as both Darren and I meeting you here on our Gulf campus more than one-on-one. And the biggest takeaway from today is that your next step, you have done a wonderful first step by joining us for this live Q&A today. But your next step, we encourage you to get in contact with us. Please plan to attend our fall open house on November 3rd. That registration link will be made available to you soon, and we'll also email you information about it after this Q&A is over today.
Good, good.
But we want to stay engaged with you, and this is more of a collective effort. There have been so many successful students who have gone through our part-time program, and we would love to work with you personally as we go forward. Darren, what's your next, your best tip for them as we close this out?
Well, I just want to mention briefly for those of you on the webinar today, thank you for staying a couple of minutes over too. I mean, as you can see, Carmen and I, we have a lot to say.
We have a lot to say. We're so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, well, it's fun for us because, you have big plans for your lives. So, anyone that wants to apply, we'll give you an application waiver. If you want to just email us there. I mean, thank you for spending your time. It's kind of our gift to you for spending a bit of time with us. But by all means, do not underestimate the importance of putting together the top quality application as you can, and work on the things you can control now. But we're here to help you kind of field some questions. And I know it's a big step, but it's going to be uncomfortable when you get in law school, and this process too might not be the most comfortable for you too, but we certainly encourage you, and we will be here to support you through this process. So by all means, lean on Carmen, myself, Zoe, et cetera too. So come spend time with us.
Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Darren, it was great to do this with you.
Oh, yeah, no,
we should do it again sometime.
Yeah, so come back. Yeah, well, it's the Darren and Carmen show.
Yes, we will be in touch with you all. Please, hopefully, be in touch with us. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for watching Stetson Law Live. For your convenience, our contact information will remain on screen for the next few minutes. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you soon.